Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all doing well out there. We've got an interesting one today. Hopefully, I can speak intelligently on this topic that I don't know much about. But this one was suggested to us by Heather, who is our only other panelist tonight. How are you doing tonight, Heather?
I'm doing pretty bomb.
Yeah? Why is that?
I have all the balls at
Alrighty
two
then.
Pokemon.
Okay. Sure. I mean, we can't see it, so I'll just have to take your word for it. Alrighty then. So, what made you want to talk about this topic? We got handmade versus store-bought cosplay tonight.
Yeah, so I brought up this because if anybody knows me, they've been on my channel. I upload cosplay videos every day. I love cosplay. I love, just costuming, getting dressed up as different characters, doing different things with it. So it is a topic near and dear to my heart. But I've listened to a lot of discourse in the cosplay community, and there seems to be kind of a stigma with handmade versus or store bought cosplay. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people when they think of well, you put store bought. I quoted it as purchase. A lot of people think store bought cosplay. Oh, people are just getting a Halloween costume and calling it cosplay, or oh, someone just paid someone else to do all the work so they could go around in a good costume. I want to say it shouldn't be like all black and white like that. Handmade isn't the only way to go. It's certainly very much a commitment of time, energy, effort, money, and skill. And I will complete respect on that name. But I think there's a little bit of respect in like a well purchased cosplay. But we'll get deeper into that as we go.
Alrighty then. So, we're very grateful to all the patrons who support this channel, especially the $10 and up tier. Here's this list. We got Heather, who's with us. There's Shady Oak, Sid, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Kanto Acrylic VA, Mr. Sonic 31, Alicia Lynette, Zeta Z, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, Venture Corp, Willie Eisen, 7 equals 1 heart, and Dark Malcontent, executive producer of Titan Art Studios. If you'd like to get on the show, or if you want to check out their content links as well, all of that relevant information is listed in the description. You can tell I'm trying very hard to shorten that sales pitch there. Anyway, so I think first of all we need to start with our definitions. What is a homemade or a handmade cosplay versus a store-bought cosplay? Or is it a spectrum? What do you think, Heather?
So, certainly is. For one thing, there is like all the way on the end of the handmade spectrum where like someone has sewn together, wielded together every single bit of their cosplay. Like someone who completely sewn together a huge gown and like stitched together their own wig for a Sailor Moon cosplay. Like someone who made every single thing that they are wearing. And then there's someone on the other side of the spectrum, all the way on the other side of purchase cosplay, who didn't do a damn thing. Like they just bought a completed cosplay somewhere like on Etsy, commissioned it, they didn't make any of it. There's a lot of in between, you know? Like a lot of people like to sew together their cosplays, but they don't make wigs. Wigs are a complicated process. Or there's people who only made like one part, like maybe they only make wigs and then they bought the rest of their cosplay. So there's a lot of space in between.
So where does King Sombra fall in that spectrum? Because I bought just about every piece of that costume, pretty much individually, but with the exception of the crown and the sabatons. For those who don't know, those are the armored shoes. Uh, Everything on there was bought separately. Where does that
Yeah,
fall on
so
that spectrum?
on that spectrum, you are more on the bot cosplay side of things because, like, I've seen the King Sombra outfit many times. It has a lot of moving pieces, and you only made two pieces of it. It's I wouldn't discredit you though, because those are impressive bits to have made because it's armor. It's literally armor. Someone who like freaking forged their own armored cosplay is something to be like revered, you know? But you are more on the store-bought spectrum of this. There's any shame in it. That's something I wanted to talk about because there's a lot of discourse in the cosplay community. And a lot of people think that if you like didn't make your cosplay, you shouldn't be put in cosplay competitions and you shouldn't like you know, you shouldn't be as like well revered or respected. Like if you bought your cosplay, you're not really cosplaying, you're just wearing a Halloween costume. And I don't agree with that because it makes the community very inaccessible to like beginners, to people who just want to be casual enjoyers of that kind of thing. Because I'm all about accessibility when it comes to fandom. I really like if you look at all of my cosplays, I rarely, if ever, make pieces for it. Like I can crochet, I've told you that. But I certainly can't sew together wigs. I'm not very good at sewing, and I'm not interested in, like, being a seamstress or something like that because let me tell you, there's a lot you need to do to put a cosplay together, and time, energy, and money are, like, 3 big things. And that's another thing that'll contribute to the spectrum. Someone who, like, has the time and has the energy, like, maybe that's their way of cutting costs financially as if they have, like, they find cheap materials and sew things together by themselves. That's how they cope with it. Or on the other end of the spectrum, someone who has all the money but doesn't have the time or the skills necessary can like commission someone to make put something together. Like a lot of fursuiters are like some of the best cosplayers. Almost all fursuiters commission someone else to make their fursuit for them. Like that's a big time commitment, a big money commitment, and that's why fursuiters are probably all tech bros because it takes so much money to make that stuff.
Hmm.
I would say I would say the only issue is if someone buys their cosplay and then claims they made it all themselves. I think you and me were watching a video just the other day where someone was making a talk about the cosplay community. And they're like, yeah, there's like so many easy ways for you to make a bad name for yourself in the cosplay community. And one of those big ones was taking credit for making something that you did not make. If you didn't make something, like don't I don't know. Like I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you said you made it because you were worried people would think you suck if you didn't make it. But here's the thing. No one really cares that much. If someone says, "Hey, that's a cute sailor suit you have on," it's okay to say like, "Oh yeah, I commissioned someone for this, or I bought it off Etsy, or I bought it off Amazon." It's okay. Like almost everyone does that. A lot of the cosplayers I follow, like yeah, some of them sew stuff together and stuff. Maybe some of them style their own wigs, but they aren't making like 100% of it. It's okay to like say that you bought pieces. And I would argue there is some work that goes into it when you're buying a cosplay. Like for instance, the fursuiters, they have to really vet out their commissioners. They have to look through their catalog of work and make sure they do the stuff in a style that they like and they appreciate. And I would say I put a little bit of work into making my cosplays because for one, I have to afford them, so I have to work and make money to buy the shit to begin with. I also have to coordinate because people don't just like some people do uh like will do specially made wigs that are meant to look like particular characters, but those cost so much money, so half the time I'm having to track down a wig that looks like Twilight Sparkle's hair, or god forgive me if I ever try to do a Sunset Shimmer cosplay. I would have to look so far and wide to find a wig that looks like that hair. I'd probably have to commission somebody and that'd be like so much money, but hey, I'd like to do that someday because I really would like something that's more respectable to the character. It's all like in the coordination and the planning. And honestly, I think store bought might be a way to do cosplay more cost efficiently. Because I'm going to give you guys a big spoiler, and I wish I had given. Brony, do you have a picture of my rarity cosplay by chance?
I don't think I've taken any good pictures of your rarity.
Well,
Um,
people, go to my YouTube channel and look at my rarity cosplay. Every piece of that cosplay is bought, and I'm gonna tell you, all the clothes I'm wearing, I paid like $5 for because I went to Goodwill. I went to Goodwill and went through racks and racks of clothes until I found stuff that made me think rarity, and I ended up finding the perfect skirt. Guys, I know the skirt isn't shown enough in those videos, and it's because I think that's a missed opportunity because I love that skirt so much. It's a black skirt with squares on it that are white and purple and blue, which is all rarity colors, and it has pockets. Pockets. people. Pockets in a skirt, 2 pockets that are of a decent size. I can fit my hands in them comfortably, guys. That is such
Well,
a find.
Heather, I think the whole audience right now is male, so they might not understand the significance of that statement. Can you break that down for us real quick?
Men, y'all spoiled because women's clothing rarely, if ever, includes pockets. And when they do, they're either fake pockets or they're small pockets. They could barely fit an iPod Shuffle in there. Yes, I really dated my reference with that. But if you know what an iPod Shuffle is, it's basically the size of a pack of Tic Tacs. That's all you could fit in those pockets. And so when I go on and on and on about pockets, you know it's something big. All I'm saying is that work goes into a cosplay no matter how you flip it. Yeah, like someone could have just commissioned it, like just dumped a whole bunch of money on someone, commissioned a cosplay and and all that. But let me tell you, like a commission isn't just like a one-sided transaction. You can't just go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, sew me together a Twilight Sparkle cosplay," because you got to tell them, because like they might not even know what character you're talking about. They'll be like, "Who's Twilight Sparkle?" And then you have to show her a picture, and then you have to give them your measurements. It's got to be like a conversation you have with a person. So all I'm saying is, any cosplay of any kind takes a little bit of work and coordination and planning. Yes, there's a lot of low effort ways to cosplay, a lot of cost efficient ways to cosplay, but I don't think there that like you should disrespect any form of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, where does all this animosity towards store-bought cosplays come from?
I would say it's probably a combination of people have lied about making their own cosplays, and people, of course, liars are never good. I think it might be a bit of, well, I don't want to say envy, but I feel like it's that some people feel like their efforts are undercut and their cosplays aren't as much as appreciated, like, think of this scenario. You worked super hard on a cosplay, like, you made every bit of it. You walk around a convention, and, like, sure, people like your cosplay, but then you see someone with a cosplay who's, like, just looks way more like, higher quality than yours, like a professional made it, and it's because a professional did make it. Someone paid someone else to make it for them. So it feels like people are cheating, like they're taking a shortcut, that they put less effort into their cosplay and they get to look better for it. And they're going to enter a contest and they're going to win because they have an awesome, handmade cosplay that they didn't make, but they are wearing, and they are going to win a contest with it. So I feel like a lot of the handmade community might just think it's unfair, and they might just think that like if I put all this effort into my cosplay, then why can't everyone else do the same? I feel like you get that in a lot of communities, like people who make OCs, like who draw their own, and then see people post picture of their OCs drawn better because they commissioned somebody, might feel a bit envious that it's like, hey, you're not even doing all the work of making an OC. You're having someone else do the work for you. I want to say the people out there who do things all on their own, hey, you should be more happy with that fact yourself. Like it doesn't have to be something everyone acknowledges, and mad respect on that. But I don't think that means you should like put down another side of a community just because they didn't make the time commitment that you did. Not everyone can afford to. Not everyone has the skills to. And why does everyone have to? If they don't want to, why should they have to? Especially if there's other alternatives.
So, when you talk about competitions, are there like the only time I've really seen a competition for cosplay, it was at Everfree Northwest or BronyCon. The prizes were on the line. Um, and they didn't have or no, they segregated the store bought and the handmade cosplays to avoid
Which I think,
that very problem.
yeah,
So what do you think about that?
I think that's very fair because I've been in like maybe one cosplay competition. It was like at one of the Brony cons, and it was not very well organized at the time because any place that has you in the same division as fursuiters is just not fair. Like, and when it comes to something like that, dividing things in subcategories is the best way to do it. That way, all the handmade people who want their effort and work to be acknowledged can, be have that put on the forefront, and people can really judge more based off of like, whoa, what did they put into this cosplay? What did they do? All those cool things the cosplay does for the character, and there can be a, like a commissioned or a purchased cosplay division where it's going to be more about like, oh, cool, like which one, like just at a superficial level, okay, which one looks the best.
Mm.
I think doing it by subdivisions like that is a good idea. I like it when they split it up even further and be like, okay, fursuiters here, people who do armor here, people who are like in a group cosplay. They coordinated like a group cosplay. They're in another division. I think that's just the best way to do it. I think people who are envious of people who did purchase cosplay probably were subjected to like a not very well organized competition. Like I said, it's a cosplay competition. Come up with your cosplay, we'll see who's the best. And because like someone, paid a professional to make their thing, they probably won little to no effort because there wasn't like, a specification of like, okay, the people who made their own here, the people who didn't here, you know? So it sucks, but sometimes cosplay competitions aren't the best put together for like smaller conventions.
Okay. Yeah, well, not just smaller, but inferior. So, or not inferior, less experienced is what I meant to say. Where
Yeah,
there's
inferior
where
sounds derogatory, bro.
well, I didn't even mean to say inferior. I don't know why that word came out. But I was just thinking about like uh, conventions that haven't been running for years and years to learn from experience all of these mistakes. That kind of thing is where I think you're gonna run into that. So where should the line be between store bought and handmade to qualify for the handmade division in the cosplay contest? Like
I see
at
what you're
what point
saying
between
because
going to holiday at what point between going to Party City or going to thrifts and just getting your costume, throwing that on and getting on stage, or going to the thrift shop and finding all of the pieces that you did, or going to Joann Fabrics and getting your felt and then stitching everything together from or to going and buying a loom and a bunch of silkworms to at which point on this spectrum do you qualify as handmade or store bought?
that's definitely a tough distinction to make. I think how I would do it is that how much of your cosplay did you make? Like, I don't expect everyone to know how to make a wig, but if you sew together most of the clothes, I'm not going to irk you if say you didn't make the wig and you didn't make your shoes because who the hell knows how to make shoes?
If I remember correctly, and gosh, I wish I had somebody to confirm this for me, but I do believe that they had at Everfree Northwest they had a percentage on it. I think they said like 60 or 75% of your costume should be handmade or something like that. But I don't know what qualifies as handmade, which
Handmade, I would
I would
say,
assume is going to Joann's and or Michael's and getting the fabric and hitting up your
and
sewing
sewing it
machine.
yourself.
Yeah.
Say so too, because like I would say if you hand sewed everything, you obviously don't have to get a freaking loom and make the fabric yourself. Like if you're out there getting the fabric and you sewed it together, I think that counts enough as handmade. I don't think any bit of handmade could be like I bought this from one place and I bought this from the other place. It's like a shirt and a skirt. That's not handmade. That's just like you bought all the pieces.
So what if you bought shirts like say this one shirt had the sleeves that you wanted but this other shirt had the backing or a different material that you needed and you put them together, does that is that store bought or is that handmade?
You know what? I think that's just as good as if you had gone to Joann's and bought the fabric. You saw 2 things you liked and you started sewing things together. You made like, that's one that's gonna be kinda
And you
funny
probably
because it's
save
like, I
money on
bought the shirt
material
separate.
too. You-
Absolutely, and, like, I don't know how to make sleeves. Just sew those together. But, I think that would still be considered handmade. Handmade if you got a needle out and you started sewing shit, that's handmade, damn it.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, like anything, like spoiler alert, guys, everything that I've worn in my cosplays has been bought. I didn't make anything. I don't know. I'm not a seamstress. I don't know how to make clothes. I know how to crochet. I like to crochet, but let me tell you, making pieces of clothing, anything bigger than a scarf, is too much of a commitment for me. Like it takes so long to make. I tried making a vest once, and it took months, months, people. And it didn't even come out the size I wanted. Like, I wear it during Christmas, but Brony, that you know the freaking vest I'm talking about, my Christmas vest?
Yep.
Yeah, that thing was meant to go on my mom, and it didn't fit her, and it doesn't even open up right. So I can't make clothes. What I can do is go through a whole bunch of stuff through Goodwill and find stuff that works. That's not handmade. I didn't make any of it. I just coordinated the outfit. I'm a stylist, I suppose. A fashion stylist in the very loosest way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I I
So
can't
if
make
you
stuff like that.
so if you're going into the competition and you want to be in the homemade division because they have better prizes or something like that, how do you what do you do in that situation? Do you just suck it up and go into the store-bought division, or do you try like or do you justify to yourself that because you put this together from thrifting and maybe customized a little bit here and there, do you get to do you think you'd try to pass that off as homemade?
Absolutely not, because that would just be a lie. Like doing stuff here and there is one thing. I've done stuff here or there to make something work a little better, you know? That's why they have the percentages. Like if you made 60% of your costume you're allowed in, that means you at least like sewed together a top and junk like that, and maybe even the skirt. That's enough, I think. I didn't sew together anything. I bought a whole bunch of things and I put them together. I think the real dicey thing that might come up is like when someone commissions somebody to make an entire outfit, because that outfit is handmade, and they of course they did buy it. They commissioned someone to do it, but they could argue like, well, you bought the fabrics to make your outfit. I just paid for a little something extra for someone to like put it together. But I think what they also could argue is that I designed it and I wasn't able to sew it, so someone sewed it for me.
Well,
Like I thought that
self-design.
was another I thought that was another aspect to maybe bring up now, is that like, yeah, sometimes people commission it and that's just another form of purchasing cosplay. But what if they put a lot of work into the design of it? Like they designed it, they made the patterns and stuff, they just didn't sew it, or they got someone else to get things together and sew it for them. Does that still count as like, well, they helped make it, like it was like a freaking team effort. So would that still be considered purchased? Just purchased, or like did they had a hand in its creation, so is that handmade?
You know something, I was going to ask you that question.
It's a
What
tough one.
yeah, what qualifies as store-bought in this scenario? Like
In
because
this
you
case,
bought
it's
it,
not
did
from
you?
a store.
Not technically,
I
unless we count like digital storefronts or something like that, or unless we count does and does your relationship to the person you're commissioning make a difference? Like, did you know them beforehand, or and were you friends, and are you commissioning your friend, or did you like go reach out to somebody on Etsy?
Yeah, that's a whole and like that's why I don't exactly like how you put it on the thumbnail, store-bought cosplay, because like people could be like, "Well, I didn't go to a store." That's why I said purchased cosplays, so it could be it's more loose and it could be like, "Yeah, you purchased it. You paid money for it to be made. You didn't make it yourself." Um it's tough, especially, like, think of a disabled cosplayer who can't sew, but can design. I don't know if it's exactly fair for them to be in the store-bought or, like, purchased cosplay, division, because they did design a whole bunch of it, and I mean, I guess if we're being cold about it, they didn't have this like, they're like the purchase people, as in the purchase people didn't have the skills to make the things, so they bought them. But she, like the person would have like had the skills to design it, they just didn't have the mobility to make it. So what would we do in that situation? That's also a tough one.
Mhm. And I wouldn't be able to make that call personally. I think the best way to go about it is having separate divisions for homemade and store bought. Then another question I have is, do you know anything about how they might enforce that kind of thing? Because you gotta imagine
It's
their
hard to say. If
yeah.
you like, take my Harley Quinn outfit, like, I think you could look at that and realize, "Oh, yeah, that's a Spirit of Halloween costume." That like, Spirit of Halloween was selling those hoodies for a while. Yeah, it's like, "No, you didn't make that, you bought it." But, yeah, it's something I don't know how they would figure that out. I guess they're really going off the integrity system. Like, with these kind of things, it would have to it's usually something like they find out later, like, "Oh, no, that person didn't make it. They commissioned it, but because it was so intricate, there's no way to tell." And that person might argue later, but like, "But it was handmade. I commissioned it to be handmade." But they're
Mm.
like, "No, you still paid for it, so you need to be in the purchase division." And that becomes something else entirely. I don't It's really something off the integrity system. Like, some people are just gonna be honest, like, "Yeah, I bought this," and some people are gonna be like, "Yeah, I made this. It looks the way it does, and I made it."
Do you think it
I think that's what they currently do.
maybe tell me what you know about the judging system for cosplays? Like, do you
It
know anything about that? Have you looked into that for conventions or anything of that nature?
Sometimes. Honestly, since the first time I competed, it was so disorganized and it took up so much time, I decided I don't really care about competitions. Like, if I was in a team if I was in a team cosplay, that's the only reason I would do competitions again, because, like, I just didn't see anything fun about it.
Hmm.
You just wait, people look at you, and, like, maybe if there's a prize I'd be interested in, but I don't think my cosplays, like, I think they're nice, I think they're cool, but I don't think they're really competition material. Like, I'm thinking competition is in I would, like, buy a s like, I would, and I say buy it because I don't know how to do this, buy a set of armor and wear it and, like, how I've always wanted to make an armored chrysalis cosplay. That's the kind I would be, like, interested in entering in a competition as a group. Like, if you and me, like King Sombra and Armored Chrysalis, decided to enter in as a pair for cosplaying, that's the only reason I'd do it again, but I'm getting off topic. What I know is that they'll judge it off a few things, like, accuracy of the character, the creativity of the design. Like, some people, will go kind of, like, use the character as a loose theming for their, cosplay. Like, take Twilight Sparkle, for example. Yeah, there's like, people always think Twilight Sparkle, pleated skirt, maybe a sweater vest, all the typical stuff. But like, some people will look at Twilight Sparkle and be like, okay, Twilight Sparkle in the future, and make her into a mech suit. That's gonna score you a lot of points. So I think they judge it a lot off of the creativity, the the act, how true it is to the character. Like, some people don't like that, like, you only use the character as a loose theming and the rest of it doesn't make any sense. Like Twilight Sparkle, the hooker.
Oh,
Although that
jeez.
could be a totally different contest. That could be a totally different contest. But
Uh,
yeah, like, different competitions are gonna and different judges are gonna value different things. I personally, I wish we did know some judges because I'd like to poke their brains into what exactly they do look for. But as far as I can tell, accuracy, creativity, and a lot of craftsmanship. Because obviously, a cosplay that's falling apart as someone is walking down the aisle isn't going to score a lot of points. I think some judges also put a bit of points into how well you wear it. Like, not as in how it looks on you, but how you try to personify the character in your presentation of the cosplay. Like, say someone in an Angel Dust cosplay comes up and just starts, acting like Angel Dust and, like, throwing kisses to the judges and doing impressions of the characters. I really like cosplayers who do that, who really try to, like, be the character while they're in the cosplay, as opposed to someone who's just, like, walking up and down the stage and not really doing much with it. Adding a bit of character to your presentation of the cosplay is something some judges consider.
okay, so let me see. What should there be separate categories for all the different types of cosplays that you could do. So like original take on a character. So for say for example, um Fluttershy if she was a Draconicus or something like that, right? Or something,
If
or
it
so-
feels like you could
or some one of the characters from Genshin Impact that. But what if she was a high school girl and wore a sailor outfit, or Sailor Moon if she was a space marine, right? See, so there's like twists on a character. There's that idea. There's fursuits, and then are there degrees of fursuits? Is there accurate should there be different divisions for just accurate to the character as seen on the screen? What do you think about all that?
I feel like yes, you should have subdivisions, absolutely. Like, cause yeah, like fursuiters are gonna want their own division, armored cosplayers want their own division, and then there's group cosplays, which I think that should be its own subdivision as well, because it doesn't feel like the entirety of the Sailor Scouts versus like just one character from the House is very fair in a competitive setting. But I do feel like there could be a way where you subdivide it too much, like you can always go too far in one direction. Like there's gonna suddenly we'll just have a division that's like all characters who wear pink in this division, all characters who wear a sailor suit in this division, all characters who are from this, like who are all from Fallout Equestria characters in this division, which I could see a Brony convention doing. So I feel like we could do it too much because that's what I didn't like about the cosplay competitive scene. Is just how much time it takes to go through a line and be judged and all that stuff. That's why I'm not interested in the competitive scene as much. It seems like a big time sink where at a convention all I want to do is hang out with my friends, take some selfies, go through the merchant hall and have a good time. Like that's not what I'm at a convention for. I'm not there to compete.
Hmm.
For
So,
people who are into it, cool.
should things like okay, so in preparation for this topic, when we were trying to find other cosplayers to come on with us, we looked through a lot of cosplay together. Should something like the hats and dresses and things that people were making to like the priest robes or the really nice like gala gowns that people were making for themselves, should those be in the same division of the cosplay contest as like a space marine on stilts or something like that, or a
Nah, that's
first
I
or a
think he
fursuit?
would. And nah, that's why, yeah, separate categories are a thing. Like that just wouldn't make sense because I wouldn't judge a fursuit the same way I'd dress a chick. I'd like judge a chick in a ball gown. A fursuit and a ball gown are just way too many different things. Like the Space Marine you're describing, he's going in the armored division. Everybody who has armor is a big armored character. Like I'd even put like people who are dressed like Gundams into the armored character division. It's just like it doesn't make sense to judge those things separately. It's like trying to judge which food is better. Like if you tried to put pizza, a steak, and like Chinese food all in the same division. Those are just like very different things. You could definitely judge which of the Chinese food you like above the other Chinese food. But personally, I wouldn't know what to tell you if you handed me a hamburger and a hot dog and told me, "Hey, which one of these do you think is better?" I'd be like, "Well, the one I'm in the mood for right now is this one." I don't think either one is better than the other. It's just that's why we have those separate categories. Like those just shouldn't mix. Like, actually what would be worse is if someone kind of merged the lines and there was an armored fursuiter. What division does he go into?
That's certainly a question. So that's another question I was thinking about for you. A few years down the line, when I get a forge going and I'm making my own armor, right? Because I know how to make my own armor. I just don't have the tools or time to do it. So a few years, I get my forge running. I make my own armor. I want to go into the cosplay division. Uh, there's Space Marines and Gundams, which I can see. There's also Spartans, and then there's me, who's technically a knight. Do I count as armored, or is that or am I in a different division? Because the
You
Space Marines and the
know,
Gundams, those guys are on stilts. They're the Iron Man suits, things like that are just looking completely different, and I am a dude in medieval armor. So, what do you think about that?
that's tough. And, like, normally I might say, "Oh, we should make another subcategory," but the thing is you might be the only medieval knight there, so we'd have little choice but to put you in the armor division because that's the category you fit best, you are wearing armor, but at that at that point, yeah, they are also wearing armor. You're all armored in, like, the most base sense of the word. So and I would just say competitively, it would be tough because like you'd go up to the judges and they would have the dilemma I had with the hamburger and the hot dog. They'd be like, I don't think one is better than the other in these situations, but they're all so different. How can you say like one is better than the other? I guess it would leave it up to the judge's personal preference. Like maybe you'd get lucky and a lot of the judges have like a preference toward like medieval armor, or you could be totally unlucky and it's a whole bunch of sci-fi nerds that are just going to be like, yeah, that's cool, I guess, but this guy's a space marine.
Listen, I literally just thought of an avenue that I could have pursued if I had been thinking more clearly this week. I'm in touch with a lot of the staff at Everfree Northwest. I could have reached out to them and worked my way through and tried to find the people who organize the cosplay events and maybe judging the cosplay contest and working off that. So we might do a follow up to this topic
Yeah, like
after
this
this.
sounds like because I'm getting a lot of information out. So the next one could be like how to judge cosplay competitions or like
Yeah.
we'll think of
So
snapping a title, but this is a topic that could be revisited.
we'll figure that out. So I had a similar problem when I was competing when I was competing and judging even in martial arts competitions. And let me tell you a story, Heather. This one time I went to a competition and they wrote me in. I went there to compete and they wrote me into judging because I had degrees and because I had my black belts. And so this one girl gets up and she's doing a bow staff kata. And another girl gets up and she's doing a kata with tessons, which are fans, right? But they got like steel blades in them. And the staff girl knocked it out of the park. It was like just really crisp stances, really sharp techniques. Had all the memorization down. Was really fast, really strong, like everything that I'm looking for objectively in a kata. Then the girl with the Tessons got up and knew the moves, but didn't quite have as strong of a presence or as strong of a technique. I scored the staff wielder higher, and the judges vetoed me because staves are considered a lower skill level of weapon. And that at the time I didn't understand it. I'm trying to make the parallels to cosplay here because she was better at the staff than the other girl was better at the Tessons. And say in a practical sense, the person with the staff is gonna win that situation. So I'm judging. I was trying to judge the staff on its own merits. I was trying to judge the staff like being used as a staff, and at the same time judging the Tesson like being used as a Tesson and seeing which one was better. Do you sort of understand the parallel I'm making with the cosplay here of why we might do uh, all of the like the homemade and the store bought and the Space Marines and the fursuits and the formal wear all in one division and judge them based on how well they do for what they are and then assign points as such. Do you follow me here?
I'm kind of following. It's the parallel isn't perfect because at the end of the day, the competition you judge, that's a skill issue. That's I
Well,
just think like
how is sewing or designing or 3D printing, how is that not also a skill issue?
Because can you judge a well sewn together ball gown to a well sewed together fursuit? They're both sewn very good, so I think the same amount of skill went into both. I don't think there was an equal amount of skill in the katas you saw. Like, one did the kata very well, and the other one didn't do it very well, and that's just the objective truth about it.
Mm. So, is there, let me ask you this then, is there a skill set to thrifting?
I guess the best thing I could say is that it takes a bit of fashion taste. And I don't think that's I mean, I can say I don't think it's a hard thing to have, but then again, a lot of people are just like, I don't know what goes with this and that. I just don't know. Some
Mm.
people actually hire like stupid rich people will hire people to tell them what to wear because they have no idea how to dress themselves. I don't think having fashion taste is as difficult as someone learning how to sew together an entire dress.
Okay. So you don't think that there is that there could be skilled applied, that you don't think that we could judge the different types of cosplay on their own merits?
Mm, not fairly, because that's why I'm like subdivisions. That way, the handmade people can be judged fairly on, like, okay, who objectively was the best at sewing together this stuff or wielding together their stuff when they're in the armored division, as opposed to like, okay, you purchased, which of you guys made the better choice in how you spent your money. That's a real like brutal way to put it. Like, okay, handmade is for like which of you guys actually knows how to sew better, and purchased is which of you guys knows how to better spend your money
Mm. Yeah, I can. You know what? I guess
and
I
put
can see
things together.
where you're coming from with that. So,
It's judging different skills.
yeah,
Judging different skills.
the last question I have for the moment here is let's put you in charge. Uh, you're running the cosplay competition. How many divisions do you have, and how do you divide them up, and what's your criteria?
Depends on what convention I'm at that I'm doing this cosplay competition. Because if it's at like a Brony convention, I am expecting to only see Brony cosplayers. So I'd probably have an armor division because you know how many freaking My Little Pony Gundam characters I've seen? And, like, people being royal guards and stuff, so I'd have an armored division. I'd have a fursuiter division because this is, like, a fandom that merges quite often with the furry community, so there's gonna be, like, pony fursuits there. A fursuit division. I'd probably have a group division because some people all come together either dressed as the main 6 or the student 6 or as pairs. Put pairs in the groups division.
Mhm.
And I'd
So
also
more than one.
have so, yeah. Yeah, so definitely more than one. I'd have quite a few divisions, and we'd see who'd actually sign up for what. Um, but yeah, I'd probably also have a children's division because you're not going to judge a child the same way you judge an adult. And Brony conventions typically have a lot of kids, so I'd have like a 12 and under section.
Okay. So let me ask you this now. What do you do when the kid shows up with in a space marine suit?
And this is like a 12-year-old in a Space Marine suit.
It's like a 5-year-old in a space marine suit or an Iron Man suit or something
I
like
would go
that.
up to the child and be like, "Did you make that suit?" And like, I don't know, he'd be like, "My dad made that suit." And I'm like, "Why does your daddy enter you in the armored division?" I don't know. That's gonna be an interesting situation. Be like, I think you should put your kid in the armored suit division. But I don't know. That might be unfair because a 5-year-old in a suit of armor, yes, please, he's gonna win, like hands down.
Maybe.
If I, it might be fair to put him in the kids division also though, because again, a 5-year-old in a suit of armor, that's hilarious. Give him all the prizes.
Hmm. Sometimes they just do freestyle walk-ups that may or may not have be eligible for prizes because they didn't fit in or because there's a some kind of conflict of interest. Like one time I wanted to show off my King Sombra cosplay at Everfree Northwest, but I was on staff, so uh I couldn't like actively participate. But they just had like a walk on division that wasn't going there for anything. It was just for fun, right? And that's what I ended up doing. So maybe they do that, but Does that, but then that sort of takes away from the kid who might have been, looking forward to actually competing. And then what do you do for them? Do we just tell them tough breaks, or do we try to do something special for them?
God, it's tough because you just can't help everybody out. I bet the best thing you probably could do is have that thing you said where there's a freestyle division where you get to show off and get judged, but like there's no prizes and nothing on the line, you know?
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you want to say here? We're almost right at the 45-minute mark. Is there anything else you want to share about it before we move on to audience
I
participation?
want I think the root of what I wanted to get past today is that no matter how you put together the cosplay, I encourage all forms of cosplay. I want the community to be open and accessible to all sorts of people from all walk of life and have them all feel welcome. If you put like hours of work into sewing together your cosplay, that's amazing. Welcome in. If you didn't have the time, so you thrifted some clothes together like I did to make something to go around the convention in, that's awesome too. Welcome in. If you're someone who just commissioned somebody to make it all for you just so you could feel cool and take some awesome selfies, that's fucking rad. I'm all about it. Just everyone should feel happy to cosplay in whichever way they can and they feel most comfortable. Okay? You don't have to pressure yourself into making something when you aren't comfortable with it, you don't feel ready, you don't feel like you have the skills for it. And you shouldn't feel put down just because someone can buy something that looks similar to what you made. Take pride in that you made it and it's your thing and you look great in it.
Alrighty then. So let's move on to audience participation here. Now, I've been seeing a couple of new names in the chat. I feel like they've, just by what's been said, that they have tuned in before. But just in case if this is your first time tuning in, this is where we go through the chat and look at the comments and questions that we find interesting, and we tackle them there. So, firstly, Trent says, "Are you feeling okay, Heather?"
Uh, I've been having a little bit of a sore throat earlier this week, and I've been a little bit sneezy, a little congested, but I'm okay. It's just I just keep sneezing. I don't know what the dealio is.
Hmm. Half Random and Crazy Production said, yes, Goodwill rocks.
Yeah, yeah, good for finding stuff on the cheap. I think Rarity would be proud of how I thrifted and accessorized to make her appearance.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Um, Edits Coon says, Store-bought is for funsies, handmade is for dedication.
You certainly have to be to hand make something, and I guess that's where a lot of dissonance happens. Like some people who are really dedicated to the craft don't like when someone who just bought everything they're wearing walks in and maybe I don't know, I guess they just feel like you should work harder, but like, look, why? Why does everyone have to work as hard as you do? Not everyone is as committed to you, and some people just want to have fun.
Is
So
there,
be a little more chill.
do you think there's less dedication to the craft in store-bought or thrifting your cosplay together?
Depends on where on the spectrum you fall. Totally, there wasn't as much dedication to it if you just dropped a whole bunch of money and the cosplay came like because the Amazon will sell complete cosplays just already finished. There
So
wasn't as
you're
much of a dedication to it in that regard, but I would say people who, like, did what I do and go through stores just to find the right thing and make things work even if you don't have all the money together or finding the right wig and stuff. I think that's also a time dedication, you know? So, yeah, it depends on where you fall on the spectrum.
so it's an effort level issue for you.
I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a matter of like, yeah, how much effort did you put in? How long were you looking for things, or did you just pick a character like from a popular series and made sure that there was just something all done on Amazon and then just spent the money? I guess it depends on how hard it was for you to get that money. Like maybe that's all you could do because like the cosplay was like what $70 on Amazon and you didn't have the money to go looking for something more, unique or
So
something
you
like
put
that.
you
Like a
you
lot
work overtime and you put aside $10 a paycheck for for however long it takes you. So if everybody's getting
yeah,
paid bi-weekly, so that's 14 weeks right there, which is darn near 3 months.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of times the effort is put into, like, I saved up a lot of money for this, and that means something.
Mhm. Let's see here. Corrupted Glitch, which is a new name I've never seen before, says Brony, Heather, just like that. So hello. I've never seen your name before, at least to my Swiss cheese memory. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying the show. Let's see here.
Could be
Paladin
someone we
Pony.
know, they just changed it.
Quite possible. Paladin
How
Pony T says, Brawny, have you been to a Renaissance fair? Or you have been to a Renaissance fair, right? Have you met people who made their own armor? I have. Yes, I have I know people that make their own armor. And I've made, like I said, I've made a little bit myself. I do know how to metalwork. Um, I really wish I had the tools. That's why you got to subscribe to my Patreon at the highest tier you possibly can, because it comes with all these great perks, and you get to see me eventually build a forge where I will be making my own swords and armor and things like that. But yeah, I know plenty of people that do that, and they have shared their knowledge with me on top of my own research, and it's amazing, and I have a ton of respect for those people. I got to figure out how to do what they do without having one arm be 3 times the size of the other one, because I don't want to carry around that kind of muscular imbalance. My back is bad enough as it is.
Yeah, you gotta do it with both hands. You gotta switch
Mm-hmm.
off, be ambidextrous.
Alrighty then. Let's see here. Um, scrolling down a little bit. Paladin Pony T says, I'm seeing a lot of gray areas here. And yeah, Heather, I do. I try not to
They're
do.
apps that's why, yeah.
I try not to do follow-ups and repeats of topics, but I think this one may very well warrant it, especially if we actually do ever get a response from another cosplayer or somebody who runs a cosplay event.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was important subject to broach to begin with anyway, because there's a lot of gray area when it comes to handmade versus store-bought, because, like, some elements are bought, some are handmade, and if someone has kinda like a hodgepodge of both, they could find it difficult to find, like, their niche in the community, because they'll be like, "Well, I didn't make everything, but then again, I didn't, like, just I didn't make it from scratch, but I did put work into, like, sewing a few things together, so, like, where do they fall?" And I'm gonna be like, "You shouldn't have to worry too hard on where you fall. Like, it should feel welcoming no matter what."
So, Heather, that time we went to that one cosplay event down at that restaurant, you remember what I'm
Mhm.
talking about?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had a little bit of a cosplay contest thing going there. Did you happen to catch any of the qualifications for that? Because I don't think anybody there showed up in anything that wasn't store bought. And did I count? Because I technically went as Ryu from Street Fighter, guys. But here's the thing: I already have a karate uniform. I already have red headbands and hand wraps and things like that. So um, where did my cosplay fall there? And yeah, did they have any rules or anything, or was it just we're gonna judge
I
based
it was a
on what we
very
like?
Yeah, it was a very small informal thing. So most likely it was just like, whose cosplay do we like better? And it's probably gonna fall on that judge's like, oh, this person played my favorite character, so obviously I pick them.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't mean that, and I'm sure it's not a malicious thing. They were just like, okay, let's see who has the coolest cosplay. I'm sure if I came there in like a Gundam mech suit, they would have given me a prize.
Huh.
But yeah, it's just they weren't. They
You
probably
wouldn't have
just,
fit through
as
the
human
door.
nature.
You wouldn't
Hey,
have
they
fit through
got
the
like two
door as a
doors.
Gundam or something like that.
I'm tiny Gundam. But the point is, yeah, it wasn't. Or if you know what's a best, like some way to just hack the cosplay thing is if you kind of do like a two-person cosplay, but the other person is your dog. Like you go as Twilight Sparkle and you have your dog dressed as Spike. You automatically get points because there's a fucking dog in the group.
Yeah, it's kind of like that kid with the we were talking about the hypothetical kid with the armored cosplay.
Yeah, like just small cute things. Like what I was thinking is like, oh, I am the driver of the Gundam. I dress as like the Gundam person who's inside the Gundam, and then I dress the dog as the Gundam. The dog is the Gundam.
Oh, let's see here. Ariel Warner says, Brawny, how do you start a YouTube channel with no money and hide your face if possible? Okay, so there are plenty of free alternatives to the Adobe programs out there that do everything you need to do. Learn how to use them.
Pirate everything.
I pirate Adobe, so that, that's how I get around that. But there are alternatives. I would definitely recommend learning on the alternatives so you don't have the problem that I had where you learned on Adobe and now you can only do Adobe, and then I had to take a several month hiatus every time Adobe updated itself because I had to freaking find a new way to pirate it. Right. So you get that problem. So just go into Google, type in Adobe alternatives. People have made guides. And learn how to use those. You hide your face. I very rarely show my face. I'm freaking hideous.
So what I
I'm
recommend,
freaking hideous, and I don't want people knowing what I look like. So just have an OC and never show your face. Past that,
if I may
make
say,
videos. One more thing, Heather. Past that, make videos about topics you care about. That's the most important thing. And the only thing you really need to invest in is a microphone. Heather.
okay, Jesus. So I want to start with you don't even have to have an OC to start. I've watched so many YouTubers that started without having like a little persona. Like Dr. Wolf started that way. All he did was use like Windows Movie Maker or like iMovie or something and
It
put
was
like
iMovie.
screen yeah, he used iMovie and used screenshots from the show and just talked over it with like a built-in microphone. That's all he did to begin with. So he could start so simple. I believe Emerald Spencer uses Shotcut or something like that. That's a free program that you can use. And you can literally just use screenshots from the show. That's a way to get started. Maybe use clips from the show. It depends on your level of editing. But yeah, Brony says like the only thing you have to do is invest in a microphone. I'd say eventually a lot of people use the internal one. It doesn't sound very good, but if you're really concerned about cost efficiency and don't want to spend any money, that's what you're stuck with.
Mm-hmm. I see Xander says DaVinci. DaVinci license costs $600 unless you buy one of their cameras. If you buy a Black Magic something or other camera, it comes with DaVinci Resolve, which is really nice. But that she's Ariel is talking about no money. And here's one that we sort of touched on. Um, uh, Paladin Pony T right below that says, Heather, what about cosplay stores and people that pay people to wear their stuff? So you're
That's a
talking, I think you're
sponsorship
talking
deal.
about, yeah, you're talking about sponsorships and models at that point.
Yeah, that's just a model wearing their stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, the model could be like a weeb and she's into the character, and that's why she was very accepting of the sponsorship. But yeah, that's a marketing thing. Like if the person was going into a cosplay contest with the costume on and entering it kind of under the company's name, then that would be hard to think. Like the cosplay model could be like, "Hey, I'm wearing an outfit from this designer. They wanted me to model it for them, so the price is really going to them. They're paying me to do this." I think they'd probably be like, well, okay, then you can go into the handmade division. It's kind of like being a walking commercial. It's a very interesting thing. I really would only see that on TikTok. Like I see it on TikTok a lot, where like a cosplayer gets sponsored by a contact company, like people who make contacts just to wear in their cosplay. They'll be like, "Yeah, we're giving you some money and some free contacts. Please wear them in your cosplay and mention us." And that's a part of it. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
it just happens like that. The people I see on TikTok who do cosplay those usually aren't like the competitive type. They just like to do videos and junk.
Let's see here. And then we talked about this one briefly from Penny the Pencil Pony 109 says, does buying it from the individual on Etsy count as handmade or bought? What do you think, Heather?
You did buy it. You bought it. Like you could argue that, like, yeah, handmade people had to buy the cloth, but they also had to put the time into sewing that cloth together. If that cosplay was completed when you bought it, it might have been handmade by the person who made it, but you didn't make it. You bought it. That's a handmade, bought cosplay. You purchased a cosplay, which no shame in that. You just got to know where that category is. You bought it, so it is a purchased cosplay.
So, Heather, one last question I have for you from me is what because like you're not really friends at least that I know of with anybody that's like deep into the cosplay scene. So you've been observing everything from the outside. Do you think the cosplay community is more so accepting and open, or is it more so judgmental and clicky? What do you think?
You know, with all fandoms, it's susceptible to both those kinds of things. There's going to be toxic cosplayers out there who you don't want to associate with, who are hard set with like it's handmade or the highway or like I'm gonna dump a whole bunch of money and I'm special for doing that. A lot of the cosplayers, and I interact with other cosplayers mostly through TikTok. I have a few mutuals who also cosplay. No, we haven't had a lot of deep conversations, but I think the general vibe is like we try to be positive. Like a lot of cosplayers are really nice people who like the Brony fandom. Like there's good ones and there's bad ones. There's a lot of people that try to make a positive corner of it and are accepting of however the hell you got into it and however the hell you make it. It's fine. Let's just all have fun. You gotta avoid the toxic elements. It's just present in all communities despite your best efforts. If a community gets large enough, it's gonna have those problems.
Alrighty then. James Mundlin says, "Hi, Bronny and Heather. I'm new to your stream. Well, welcome. Welcome to the stream.
And goodbye.
I hope you've enjoyed it and enjoyed the stream so far, and that we've earned your continued viewership." Penny the Pencil Pony 109 says, "As a friend once told me, never turn down a chance to cosplay," and I definitely feel that. I've probably dumped around $1,000 into my King Sombra costume, and I want to. I don't even know if it counts as an upgrade. I want to change it so that it's. I want to change out the steel to polypropylene, so it's lighter and easier to travel with. But all that's going to be another $1,000 right there. I want to wear that thing every chance I get, but it sits in a suitcase most of the time, and that's kind of depressing.
I get it. That's why I got into the cosplay stuff on TikTok to begin with, because I haven't really been to a convention. Prior to making the videos, I hadn't been to a proper convention in like 2 years, like before the pandemic hit. And I love to cosplay at conventions and get ready for conventions for that, but that got taken away. And then I just sat around the house and I have these cosplays that I just have and I didn't use, but I saw what people were doing with them on TikTok and I decided, yeah, I want to do that. I want to show off my cosplays in this new, interesting, different way and have fun with it. And I've been doing it since last year, like November or something. So it's going to be a year since I was doing that in just a couple of months now. I I just like to cosplay, and I like that now that there's a more regular way for me to do it.
Yeah, I've got to get into it myself. The other day I saw Trent Jerome on Twitter talking about, he's still looking forward to the thing I talked about once upon a time where I do TikToks as Sombra, but those would all be more political in nature.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I might do that myself, but we'll see here. So, Heather, do you have any closing thoughts for us, or anything you want to learn? I didn't really talk all that much this debate. Just kind of sat around and asked
This is
questions. But is there
really
anything you want to share with us before we close off here?
This has really just been Heather hijacks the Brony debates stream to make a PSA about something she cares about. And you know what? I think that's a valuable use of our time. I did want to add a little addendum to something I believe Penny the Pencil Pony had asked about, like, hey, what if they bought it on Etsy? I would also say, like, more power to you if you bought small business as opposed to like a manufactured thing from China from Amazon. Can I just say, support small businesses, please? That's always a good
Indeed.
thing to do. But like I said before, I really just want the aspects of cosplay communities, whether it's in the Brony fandom, the Hell of a Boss fandom, Has Hotel, anime fandom, that it be an open place where like you're rewarded for either putting the time and effort into making something or like going to the trouble of coordinating or earning enough money to buy something made by someone with great skill as well. Just live, laugh, cosplay, Adam.
Alrighty
Chaos,
then.
crochet, craft, cosplay, all the stuff.
Yeah, so since we got people that are new to our stuff here, we got to go tell them to watch your show in a little less than an hour at this point. So
Yeah.
your link is in the description. You're a patron. Yeah, it's she's Princess Heather Blossom in the description there. And you know what? I'll link that in the chat so everybody can go tab that and be ready for Heather's stream. What are you doing tonight, Heather?
It's Chaos and Controllers Minecraft. This is the season finale of our Minecraft playthrough. Through the summer, we were playing Minecraft during my I switch off every week from Chaos and Crochet to Chaos and Controllers, and this summer through the gaming weeks, we've been playing Minecraft, exploring the new update. There was cherry blossoms aplenty, and tonight we are going to be playing it one last time because September marks the release of the Pokemon Scarlet DLC, which I want to get into very soon. So, guys, please stay in contact with me. Like I say, I post twice a day, most days of the week, except for Sunday, a cosplay video and a cat video. If you want to get to know my cats, you better get to my YouTube channel and start binging all those pet videos. And if you're interested in my cosplay, that's also fun. I also made a video today. I posted a video today. If you guys are into Hell of a Boss, I made a theory video about the Queen Bee, Beelzebub. So you can also go watch that if you please.
Nice. All right, and so yeah, thanks. Yeah, Shatira McCuller says, "Hey, Brawny Buck," right at the end of the stream here, which I find hilarious. So if you enjoyed the show and would like to support it, there's links in the description on how you can do that. You can join up the Patreon and get all kinds of wonderful perks as well. We're very grateful to everybody who supports, especially the $10 and up tier. These guys are. Heather, who joined us tonight. There's also Shady Oak, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden, MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Kanto Acrylic, Mr. Sonic 31, Alicia Lynette, Zetter Z, Sniper Niter, Calbeck, StarChaser, Venture Core, Willie Eisen, 7 equals 1 Heart, and Dark Malcontent, who is the executive producer of Titan Art Studios. Be sure to go check out all their links as well as Heather's in the description. And we will see you guys next week for Friday Night Fights and hopefully soon get some actual videos up. Stay safe. God bless. Say goodnight, Heather.